attacking the so-called Muslim terrorists. Far from wars against Iraq resulting in the spread of democracy in the Middle East, it has brought about the spread of instability and insecurity to the whole world. War is truly not an option in this modern world. The militarily powerful, such as the US and European countries, cannot win any war, their sophisticated and costly weapons notwithstanding. This is because the defeat of the enemy, no matter how weak, will not end in victory of the winner. The governments may surrender and sign a peace treaty, but the people will not. They will continue to fight with whatever means they have. Either over their country's defeat and occupation, they will not stop fighting. Against these people, all the modern weapons, the helicopter, gunships, missiles, bombs, rockets, stealth aircraft, and jet fighters, special forces, tanks, warships are quite useless. Once in a while, the nationalists might get lucky and destroy a multi-million-dollar aircraft or tank. In Vietnam, the powerful US military was soundly threatened by Democrat Viet peasants until the US ran away helter-skelter. In Afghanistan, the Taliban have successfully confined the NATO forces to certain towns only. In Baghdad, the American and British forces have achieved none of their objectives. Killing Saddam has not resulted in ending the war. Shock and awe have not overawed the Iraqis and forced them into submitting. Nor do we find democracy spreading. Search and new forces have cost more money and more death of US soldiers, more mental diseases among them, with no sign of bringing the war to an end or making Iraq a successful democracy. The rich countries may come up with all kinds of costly weapons capable of killing more people more efficiently, but all these weapons will not win wars against people determined to fight and preserve their independence. Perhaps the weapons, including nuclear weapons, can be employed in a war among the militarily powerful. Perhaps they can be used by the US and Britain against Russia and China. They may be able to pulverize these countries, but these countries would also wreak havoc in the aggressor countries. In fact, the whole world will be destroyed by war between the powerful nuclear powers. The rich and militarily powerful countries should take note of this. All their money, weapons, and tactical skills will avail them of nothing. In fact, they will lose when fighting against countries weaker than them, and they will suffer death and destruction if they fight against countries which can match their military capability. In the end, they will still achieve nothing. Let us take the history of the United States, the militarily most powerful nation since the end of World War II. This powerful country lost the war against China and North Korea and had to settle for a treaty that left North Korea still intact. In Vietnam, the powerful US military machine and highly skilled killers were defeated by a primitive army of pyjama-clad soldiers, and the US had to make an inglorious retreat and evacuation of Vietnam. In Somalia, a ragtag army belonging to warlords killed and dragged US soldiers along the streets and forced a hasty retreat by some of the best soldiers in the US Army. The US may claim victory in the Gulf War, but it was far from final. A few years later, after starving the Iraqis and depriving them of medicine, the US launched its much vaunted shock and awe attack. I need not reclaim here where the US is today. In Afghanistan, after spending billions, the US and its NATO allies have still not defeated the Taliban. US and other troops are still being killed. Afghanistan may be in ruin, but what has the US to show for the men, money and weapons expended in that war? The record of this most powerful nation in this war against pygmies illustrates the failure of wars even by the militarily powerful to achieve any objective. The man, money and sophistication in weapons have all been a waste. Maybe the nuclear power should try full-scale nuclear war and conquer the world, but it would be a useless, devastated world, devoid of anything valuable, and for the victors, a truly Pyrrhic victory. Clearly, war is no longer an option, not just because of the massive death and destruction that modern weaponry can inflict, not just because of the failure to achieve any objective, but also because the cost of war has gone up so much that even rich countries like the United States can be bankrupted. As Joseph Stiglitz computed, the war in Iraq alone has so far cost the US $3 trillion. The US is bankrupt, and this war will prevent the US from ever settling its debts. Of course, it can just not pay. That is the prerogative of the strong. The belief that might is right still prevails. But as I pointed out, because of the virtual arms race caused by the high-pressure sales tactics by arms salesmen, other countries have also become financially strapped. Indeed, the whole world is now heading for financial disaster, partly because of investing in ever more sophisticated and ever more costly arms. And for what? They are never going to win any war with these weapons. The rise in oil prices are connected with war, and oil prices affect the prices of all goods. In other words, the increase in oil prices brings about inflation. The poor of this world will be the ones most affected. But the rich will suffer also. We are seeing this happening now. The wars will clearly bankrupt the world, and yet the wars will solve none of the problems of humanity, none of the conflicts between nations. The cost in human lives and property is literally killed. Looked at from any angle, war is a great waste of everything. So why are we still going to war? Why are we still killing people and destroying wealth when we are not getting anything from doing so? We claim to be civilized. How civilized? Is a society where duels and killings are legally accepted as a way of settling quarrels. Would justice be served when the winner usually is the one skilled in killing? The end result must be a society of killers. Yet war between nations is actually a duel on a grand scale. 70 million people were killed in the Second World War. Property that was worth trillions of dollars were destroyed. The Allies were proclaimed the winners. But what have the winners got to show for all this? Was justice served? Were the people killed brought back to life? Were the huge sums of money expended recovered? Was there any profit for anyone? The answer to all these questions must be a resounding no. No one gained anything from war. Everyone lost, and the cost in human sufferings is immeasurable. We cannot claim to be civilized when we